Hey rockers, welcome back to the channel, man. Before I get started, I want to tell you there's going to be a little disclaimer about this video. If you're not into shocking stuff or kind of gross stuff or scary stuff or really vile, bloody stuff, this video is not for you, man. I only say this out of respect for my subscribers that might not be into some of the crazy shit we're into, right? So I'm just putting that disclaimer out, because if you're not into the shock rock, you might want to exit now. Before I get started talking about GG Allin performing in Chicago at the Exit Club in 1986, as a matter of fact, the date was July 10th, 1986. I got to show you guys something that's GG related, and it's super cool. This was sent to me by a guy in the Chicago area from a band called Geezer Sr., and his name is Jack Geezer. Jack Geezer, I don't think I properly thanked you for this great sculpture that you made and sent to me, and I'm going to do that properly now. So my friends, I got to show you this. Check this out, man. Whoa, there goes my lights. Check this out, man. This is crazy, trippy. It's a heart, right? And it's got the letters GG with a photo of GG. And it's got this microphone attached to it. Check it out. And guess what's on that microphone? It's not real. It's, you know, it's obviously some kind of clay or something, but it looks like, well, crap. Look at that thing, man. That is pretty freaking cool, you guys. Ready to be hung up and everything, man. So thank you, Jack Geezer, for sending this crazy GG homemade sculpture art. It is incredibly wild, man. All right, now I've got to readjust my camera, and I got to get my papers in hand because I want you guys to settle in. It's going to be a long video, I think. And I think I've got some pretty good details that I remembered and looked it up in the old Hated in the Nation fanzines that I put out back in the day. And I got a good story for you, man. GG Allin, the Hated in the Nation Tour, #2, 1986. I'm leaving off where I left off when I did the video about GG Allin and myself performing at O'Cayz Corral in Madison, Wisconsin. This was a couple days after that show. And if you'll remember, I kind of left off in Madison. I woke up in a car after that O'Cayz gig. We did a lot of partying. GG punched a window out afterwards at some party. Next thing you know, I'm waking up in a field in a car with Mooney from 1096 and Lisa Loring, and we weren't anywhere near GG or Chicago or Madison, Wisconsin. And I was like, holy Christ, I did not know what happened because I blacked out. Take a deep breath, hyper boy. Anyway, this is going to continue where I left off from the O'Cayz Corral video. All right, here we go, man. I stayed with Dean Dirt, the legendary singer and one of my best friends from the band 1096. He was a fan of GG. After a couple days of staying in Kenosha, I'm like, we got to get to Chicago because we got a gig. Well, GG does. I was not on the bill, but I was dying to see him play his first show at the Exit Club, and we loaded up in a van with myself, Dean Dirt from 1096, and the band U.S. Distress, featuring the great Murph on vocals. Mike Marifern, shout out, brother. He's still around today, and I have a lot of respect for Mike. Murph, you're the best, bro. And also, I believe Mooney was still drumming for U.S. Distress at the time. I'm pretty positive in 1986, Mooney was still in USD. So those guys had the van. The whole band was in there with me and Dean Dirt. We drove down, I think it's like an hour and 15 minutes from Kenosha, Wisconsin to Chicago, give or take. We thought, well, let's go find GG. We went ahead and drove to the Exit Club, right? We arrived and we saw GG. As soon as we drove by, there he was standing out front, all by himself, wearing nothing but a pair of jeans. Yeah, man, his clothes got ripped off after that show in Madison, Wisconsin. So GG's only wearing a pair of jeans, right? No shoes, no shirt. But somehow he managed to hang on to his crusty, trusty jockstrap. We actually got into the club, and me and GG went straight to the dressing room. Everyone else was hanging out in the area where people watch the bands. GG says, let's go. We went back to the dressing room. We were getting, geared up and kind of liquored up for this show. We bought some beer and whiskey, which we broke out in the dressing room. The beer was for me. The whiskey was for GG, because GG claimed that he couldn't get drunk off beer, although I beg to differ. I saw him get drunk on beer more than once, but he preferred the hard stuff to get ready for these crazy shows he did, and I don't blame him, man. The stuff he put himself through, beer wouldn't quite cut it, man, but at least the whiskey is somewhat of a painkiller, and also it puts you in the demonic zone, which he kind of thrived to be in that zone. And he worked awfully hard to make sure he stayed in it a lot. I will say that. He was a goal-oriented guy. Anyway, so we're backstage at the Exit Club, and we're starting to drink, right? GG pisses on the floor in the dressing room. Just me and him back there. And I'm laughing. I'm like, here he goes, man. He pees on the floor, and then he took a crap in a garbage can. Yeah. Right in front of me. I didn't know he was doing it. I wasn't facing him. I just smelled something horrible, grabbed my camera. I'm like, what's he doing? I turn around, and I got a great shot, which is pretty gross. It was published in the Hated in the Nation fanzine, #1, I believe. And yeah, I saw it happen. It was gross. It smelled. And I was going, what are you doing, man? But what he was doing was kind of making himself feel at home, I guess, man. But yeah, I caught it on camera. It was funny. I was dying. I couldn't believe he was doing that, and there was no audience there. But then I realized what his intent was. Yeah, see, GG did a lot of planning. He was impulsive too, but he was also a big planner. He would get a plan going and execute it like you wouldn't believe. Well, you've witnessed it in videos. He would plan stuff and, eat X-Lax or whatever and hold it in for a long time because he had a certain time he wanted to release. Never mind. Anyway, he was making himself feel at home. When he finished pooping in that garbage can, he scooped up some of the shit in his hands and he put it into an ashtray, right? He took it out. He walks out into the main room of the dance floor. People are all sitting at tables and standing around kind of waiting. And he goes and puts that ashtray on a table that was deserted or empty, I guess I should say. But he thought, ha, 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 whoever sits here is going to get a taste of this before it even happens on stage. I thought, that is so insanely genius, but just so effed up. But I was laughing. It was some funny stuff. You got to understand, man, I was 20 years old. 20. I had a fake ID that somebody in Kenosha, Wisconsin sold me for like 20 bucks or traded some weed for or whatever. So I was able to get in bars, but I was only 20 at the time. A whole different person than I am now at 59. But I'm telling you the tale because you guys seem to keep asking for more GG stories, and I'm going to share them all with you until I run out. And I've got a lot more, by the way. And speaking of that, you can check out the video section of this channel, and you can find a lot more stories about GG. Please subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up for me, and leave a comment if you want, man. But it helps out an old rocker if you guys subscribe and maybe even watch the videos, or the ads. Yeah, the ads. I know, that's asking too much, but you can't blame me for trying. So GG puts that ashtray on the table, and we just kind of, watched. And then he picked it up and started walking around and tormenting people with it like they didn't know what it was, and they'd go, oh! And he was walking around, and I'm watching him get reaction out of reaction. Finally just leaves it on that table. It was freaking hilarious, man. He knew what he was doing. Then it was time for him to do a sound check, and they were getting impatient with him because they knew we were up to no good in that dressing room. He was pissing people off. The club was getting very crowded. He had not done a sound check yet, so he gets up there with this pre-recorded cassette tape, right, that he himself recorded the bass, drums, and guitars for ahead of time in New Hampshire. And he did one song, right, for the sound check. They were just getting a level on his vocals. But he got so hard into it that he literally started breaking, beating himself and bashing the microphone around and just out of control. During that one song in sound check, he broke 2 microphones. This is all in like a minute. It was insane. And they finally stopped. All right, you're done. Get off. You're good. But yeah, he broke 2, and the sound man was livid. I remember he was cussing up a storm. Well, I couldn't believe they were even going to let him play still. Like, if I would have done that kind of thing, I would have been kicked out. But he was, bringing people in, And there was 2 other bands on the bill that night too, man. The Volcano Suns and Squirrel Bait. Yeah, I don't think too much of those bands. Kind of bored me, but whatever. The place was filled with a lot of people at this point, including producer and musician Steve Albini from the band Big Black. And I think he worked with Nirvana later, right? Pretty sure. Most of the people there seemed to be there to see the band Squirrel Bait or the Volcano Suns. But there were GG fans like us crazies from Kenosha and Peoria. And there was others there to see GG too, but not the majority whatsoever. He was kind of not liked from the get-go. People were like, we don't want to see him. But he was playing, and it was packed. And so the other bands bored us, yeah. Finally, GG takes the stage, right? He gets on stage, and all of us that are supporting him are kind of standing close and kind of rooting him on. You know, he was always cool to his friends. He never did anything weird to me when I stood close to him on stage. He knew I was there to support him, so, you know, he might get in my face. The worst thing that would happen would I'd be like, taking pictures of all that stuff, you know, which I had a big collection until the Alameda fires happened here in 2020, but I won't get into that. I lost most of my photos. I still have some of them. And again, the Hated in the Nation fanzines, which are really hard to get, volume 1 and 2, they have a lot of those photos in there. So I'll talk more about those fanzines when I get later into the story here. You know, GG gets on stage. People are ready. He opened with Blood for You. What a classic, right? By GG Allin. And it's scary, right? It's an intense opening song, and he immediately goes into full tilt boogie. Like he was going off the rails within seconds. And I was like, holy hell, he's not kidding around. That whiskey must have kicked in, man. And he, wow, yeah, he went crazy immediately. His face was covered in blood. Bright red blood everywhere. Lots of it, man, as he brutally pounded the mic into his own face and various parts of his face and head. And it was just brutal, man. Watching him do it, it was almost painful, you know. The audience, they're all just freaking out. They start throwing glasses at him. Glass. And he's up there, you missed me! He's up there taunting the audience and telling them they missed him and like, haha, like a little kid on the schoolyard getting, you know, stones thrown at him. I'm talking big glasses of beer and stuff. People are whipping him on stage. It was crazy, man. Very crazy. So I'm standing up front, right? Because I was with GG. I was trying to show him support. Standing right up front, and I'm kind of cheering him on, and some chick all of a sudden comes out of nowhere, and as hard as she could, she walks up and punches me pretty hard right in the face. And I was kind of like seeing little stars for a second, and then I was seeing red. And I don't know what would have happened. I was 20, I was drunk, and it hurt. And so before I could really react, this chick goes booking back into the crowd, and I couldn't find her. I just let it go. I was just like cussing at the top of my lungs, but Gigi was playing, so nobody could hear me but me. But I was calling her everything but, you know, nice names. But she got away with it. She knocked me in the head, you know, right in the face. The audience starts throwing the glasses at him, and it was just getting kind of crazy, man. Really crazy, actually. People are backing up and freaking out. Gigi's bleeding all over the place. Then he goes into his hit classic, Drink, Fight, and Fuck. Yeah, man. I love that song. That was the first 7-inch that I ever heard by him, and I always thought, man, this is a man after my own heart. But again, that's back in my drinking, wild, fighting, crazy days, which I'm not like that anymore. And I'm glad I'm still alive in 2025. But rest in peace, GG, and I'll always remember you, man. And so will everyone else, according to the YouTube. Wow! So much GG content that if you're a fan, it's got to be pretty freaking awesome, right? Anyway, he does Drink, Fight, and Fuck, and other classic scumfuck songs, which I don't remember exactly. I could probably guess, but I'm not going to do that. I try to stick to facts here, only the facts. And sometimes I get those wrong. But hey, what are you going to do, man? I'm lucky to have any memory at all after all the stuff I put myself through in my life, all the chemicals and booze I've ingested. Woo! I'm glad I'm on weed right now. And that's it. Weed. Anyway, I'm getting off the topic because I've got ADHD, man. Really. So Gigi gets up there. He's doing his other classics. People are pissed. The sound man's freaking out. The microphone's dented again. It's all covered in blood. But when he only had 2 songs left, and he would have gotten through the entire set, right, which is kind of uncommon anyway. But he had 2 songs left, and that That was too much for that sound guy, man. Broken glass, bloody mics, audience is ready to kill him, and the sound man stopped the tape. Man, we were pissed. At least, you know, some of us. A lot of people started clapping and kind of like we're happy that that was going to... The freak show's going to leave, they thought. That's not what happened, though. We stayed. So once he pissed off GG by stopping the tape, we decided to stick around for a bit, right? The spectacle was over, kinda. Then we started watching the Volcano Suns, and we were like... And GG was mad that they got to play, and he was kicked off stage. So he walks up front, and... While we're watching the Volcano Suns, he throws a full can of beer right at the bass player and nails him. And, oh man, these guys were not happy, and they were up there saying their thing and yelling at us and yelling at GG and whatnot. It was very sadistic of GG, but in that moment, we found it to be kind of amusing and ballsy. Very ballsy. GG had balls like King Kong, though. What are you going to say, man? We decided to leave, and on the way out, some guy called GG a name. What do you think GG did? He walked over and punched the guy as hard as he could right in the face. But the guy kept going, man. He just started calling him more names. And it got to be like, wow, this guy is really cruising for a bruising, man. He's already gotten nailed once. So the guy kept doing it, man. And GG walks back over and punches him twice more right in the face, right? And then finally, that heckler got a chair smashed over his face. I'm not going to talk about who did it. There was a whole group of us. All I know is it happened, and yeah, I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, that's for sure. Crazy night, man. We attempted to leave again, right? And when we attempted to leave, we kind of noticed that right behind us, literally, were about 50 guys, maybe 2 feet behind us, basically waiting to take us out in a very harsh way. So as we exited the exit, we actually saw a friend of ours in a car pull up, which I believe might have been Lisa Loring, or I don't know who it was. Probably not Lisa Loring, but it was somebody we knew from the show. Pulled up in a car. We were able to book it and jump in that car, and that crowd started running after us. We got away. Whoo! That would have been a beating, man. And I felt it coming on. I'm like, oh boy, I'm going to pay. It's going to be some instant karma, like John Lennon would have said, right? So anyway, we get in the car. The USD folks and stuff, I believe they followed us. I'm a little hazy about this part. They might not have. But we ended up going to a bunch of porn shops. You know, GG liked to keep it sleazy. So we went to a bunch of porn shops. He's wearing his jock. He's all bleeding. He looks like he walked out of a freaking horror movie. And I'm just there kind of laughing at this point. And I'm drunk as a skunk at this point, too. But we went to these porno shops. But there was one point, maybe before that, maybe during that, that the singer for 1096... Dean Dirt, who was super funny, very witty, and never afraid to say exactly what was on his mind, he literally said to GG, hey man, I finally figured out what genre your music is. You're carny rock. And we all start busting up laughing. We're like, carny rock, oh my God, funny. GG Allin, the carny rock. We thought it was hilarious. At least we did at the time. Everybody cracked up. But the funny part was to come. Because as we're all laughing, we noticed everyone was laughing except for one person, GG Allin. He was looking at us like, these guys are laughing at me and I don't know why. He was really confused. And he's like, what the hell does that even mean? Carny rock, I don't get it, man. What do you say? Is that an insult or a compliment? And we all start cracking up, and we finally explained to GG, because he wasn't familiar with the word carny. He looked insulted, so we decided to tell him it wasn't an insult. It was just Dean taking the piss and just, you know, having fun. But it wasn't too far off the mark. Carny rock, kind of funny. But again, he wasn't familiar with the word. Once we told him, he kind of got it. And, you know, it was just a classic and wild moment, man. But we explained, you know, and he was satisfied with that, that label. So memorable and humorous. That I remember it like it was yesterday. Dean was hilarious, dude. Rest in peace, Dean Dirt. We'll never forget you, bro. We eventually found a gay bar. GG wanted to go to a gay bar, and he was, I don't know if he was trying to incite a riot or just go hang out with people that were, you know, as decadent as himself, because a regular bar probably wouldn't have cut it. You know, who's going to be, you know, accepting as some guy in a jockstrap. So we thought we'd find a gay bar, and boy, we found a pretty cool one. You walk in there, it was real dark, and there was all kinds of like transsexuals and a lot of weirdos in there, and they immediately were like looking at GG and staring him down, but nobody kicked him out. They didn't care that he had a jockstrap on. As a matter of fact, I explained to the bartender, I'm like, look man, we're here. This is a famous, punk rock musician. We just did a gig. We're broke. We basically want to know how we can get some free drinks, man, And all the degenerates are looking around at GG. The bartender says, well, hey, man, you can earn some free drinks if GG will stand up at the bar and walk around on the bar and kind of parade around and, give us a little show. So GG took that in stride. Matter of fact, it was hilarious because he was in a good mood. He was actually in a comical mood. He was having fun. He got up there and he's just walking around and he knows these guys are all like, woo, woo, turn around, show us that ass. And he's up there strutting his stuff and it was just hilarious, man. I really wish I would have had a freaking video camera there. It was crazy nuts, man. But he did that for a while. People are tripping, and we earned free drinks, man. I know GG for sure got a beer. At least he got a beer out of it, right? And in Chicago or those big cities, it's hard to get free stuff, man. Everybody's broke, and if you're not broke, you afford your booze. We were broke. And so, broke is a joke, I should say. It was super funny, though, man. People are whistling and clapping. I was dying laughing, man. I'm like, look at him up there. He's acting all feminine, strutting around just to get free booze. What a whore. But hey, it worked, right? So the customers absolutely loved him. We got, the drinks. Mission accomplished. Yep. We were very goal-oriented guys. LOL. Anyway, after our friends split, me and GG, we ended up at the Trailways bus terminal in Chicago, right? At around 5 in the morning. I was deciding I was probably going to split, man. But then we decided to walk over to Burger King and get some food. Well, I got food. I got a big old plate, one of those big old plates full of breakfast goodies. GG ordered an orange juice. I remember that thinking, wow, he's ordering something healthy, but no food. So he got his orange juice. I got my food. We slide into booths. We're completely wasted. We're coming down. We're tired. We're physically exhausted from the last several days, playing O'Cayz Corral, 2 days of partying, him in Chicago, me in Kenosha, and here we are at Burger King, 5 in the morning, wasted. And there's a security guard in there tripping balls on the way we looked, right? And we basically, after we talked and ate, we fell asleep right there at the table. We're just like nodded out. Next thing you know, the security guard's over shaking us. Hey, man, get the hell out of here. You can't sleep in here. Get out of here, man, you guys. We're like, yeah, piss off. So we get up, and we walk outside and immediately sit down on the concrete, backs up against whatever wall, right on the street, man. We're sitting there, and then I'm like, hey, I've got my cassette recorder with me, and I got the whole show on tape. He's like, oh, man, let's hear it. So I press play on my little handheld cassette player, and it sounded killer. Perfect mix. I used to love that mini tape player, man. I used to tape so much stuff on there. Great bootlegs, man. A lot of them are posted on my other channel, The Church of Rock. All one word on YouTube. Please subscribe there if you would. So we listened to the tape and it's really good. You could hear him perfectly. You could hear the audience's reactions. It was really good, right? So while we're listening to that, GG says, man, I'm going to submit this to the record label for my next album. And he's like, literally like, my next album will be live at Exit in Chicago. And I'm feeling pretty good thinking, yeah, I got to record that. Kick ass. So we were stoked. And then the next thing you know, unfortunately, we were so out of it and tired and drunk, we passed out on the sidewalk. We passed out for a while. We were just out of it. When I woke up, I looked around and was like, whoa, how long we been sleeping, man? And then it took me a minute to realize something's missing. When I fell asleep on that sidewalk, I'm holding a freaking cassette player like this in my hand, and I nod out. When I wake up, it's gone. I'm like, gee, it's gone. He's like, what? I go, the tape player, man, it's not here. He's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me, bloody. I said, you passed out too? He goes, oh, man, I can't believe that. That tape was so valuable to me. I go, I know, bro. And so we had to sit there and start bumming out about that. Now we're hungover, we're tired, and depressed. We started both bumming out about it, and I think we both were kind of getting sick of being sick and tired. So we were pretty much bummed out, man, very badly. That was a kick-ass recording. Still bums me out today, man. We make our way back over to the Trailways bus station, and I decided to buy a ticket to go home to Peoria, which is about a 3 hour cruise south. GG was looking awfully bad. He had black eyes. His face was messed up. He had a bandana on at this point. I don't know where he got these clothes. He was a trip, man. He was almost like a magician sometimes. And I took a picture of him right before I left, and I've got that somewhere. It might be in Hated in the Nation fanzines. And he just looked horrible and tired and not any sense of humor left whatsoever, right? So we're sitting there hanging out. He's waiting for my bus to come with me, and he's kind of bumming that I'm leaving. But, you know, he understands. And we're hungover. We're exhausted. I buy my ticket, and, you know, the rest of the Hated in the Nation #2 tour had fallen through. You know, it's planned out to be a 2-week tour, this tour, right? You just imagine, there were so many reasons why things were canceled, but it just fell through. The 2-week tour, imagine that, man, insane tour. 2 weeks of going through that kind of hell that we put ourselves through nightly, especially GG, not me. I mean, I was drinking and staying up late every night and all that, but he was the one putting himself through physical hell. Can you imagine 2 weeks of shows? I'm going to give you a list of what that tour was supposed to be. It was supposed to be starting in Boston. Then he was going to play Toledo, Ohio. Of course, you know, we did the Madison, Wisconsin show at O'Cayz Corral. Again, that video is on this channel. Champaign, Illinois, we had to miss that because of a screwed up bus schedule. We did, you know, Chicago at Exit. He did. Newport, Kentucky was the next show, and I decided not to go. But GG went, and he was supposed to play the Jockey Club. But when he got there, he found out it had been closed. So a small group of GG fans threw a little party, like a private party, and he performed a short set, I believe, at that party. Then it was going to be Detroit, Michigan, Mississippi, New Orleans, Memphis, Tennessee, and then ending in New York City. Well, everything sort of fallen through, man. There was lots of reasons for these cancellations, like I said. We had also planned a Hated in the Nation tour #3 that was supposed to happen in early or mid-1987, but shit happens. I couldn't resist, man. Check out the other GG stories on my channel. Please subscribe to my channel, you guys. I promise to bring you more GG tales. I've already got another one planned. And I do sell flyers. I sell flyers from like 4 or 5 shows where I was on the bill with GG. A rocker's got to eat, man. And they're pretty reasonable. You can email me directly. My email is in the description area on this video if you want to get in touch with me. I do sign the flyers if you request them. I'm not so egotistical that or arrogant that I'll just autograph them. But if you want me to, I'll sign it under my name on there. If not, I'll leave it blank. And you can put it in a frame and keep it as a keepsake. And if you want all of them, I'll do a deal for you. I'll cut the price down for sure if anyone wants to buy all the flyers at one time. Because I need to eat. Look at me, man. I'm fucking 15, 20 pounds underweight, literally. I need to eat more. So, yeah, man, think about it. What else, man? By the way, I'm thinking about reprinting copies of the Hated in the Nation fanzines that came out in 1986 and 1987, respectfully. These were fanzines that GG himself gave me the go-ahead and put together. Hell, he gave me a lot of the material for the first issue. There's a lot of photos I've taken from a lot of the tours in there, a lot of one-off gig photos, his entire discography, lots of rare photos with him and celebrities, and just all kinds of reviews and cool stuff. If you're a GG Ultra fan, please tell me in the comments below, would you be interested in purchasing Hated in the Nation fanzines Volume 1 and 2 if I were to reprint them? Now, I did reprint them back in 2015, and I only did 50 copies, so you could buy them as a set is what I did. And I added 2 new pages, 1 to each issue. So what I'm planning on doing if I reprint them is possibly adding another page or 2. So if you've got the other ones, these will be updated with new material, possibly some new memories that I haven't shared. Things like that. Maybe pictures. Who knows? Maybe an interview with somebody that was in one of his bands. But let me know what you think. Because if you guys are interested, and if I can make a few bucks, you know, because it's hard to make a living, as you all probably know, I would reprint those and maybe do like 50 or 100 and, you know, add some new stuff to them. Let me know if you're interested in that, man. That would be really cool to hear your feedback about that, you know, for all you collectors. In the meantime, stay sick, you crazy mofos. Rest in peace to GG Allin, the king of sleaze. Cheers.